Hi everyone, and I'm going to be talking about the next action point, and this action point is quite interesting, and I personally like it. But before I go ahead with the action point, I know that I've been getting a very good feedback. We are getting a lot of WhatsApp messages and a couple of emails as well that we've received. That yes, the videos are very exhaustive, but they are very important, and sometimes we also got this feedback saying that. Everything is now seeming so serious. I mean, the moment I'm thinking about it, and each time I look at my young boy, I kind of feel that I am extremely responsible to talk about all these things, and I'm being a little more mindful. But yes, these videos and these action tips are in a way putting people into a certain level of discomfort. But unless and until we don't get into this discomfort and work on what needs to be worked on, we will not be able to see the change. So I definitely wish all of you the very best to utilize these action points in your daily life and see what sort of change can you make. Okay, so the next action point that I'm going to be talking about, which is my personal favorite, is what you call is teaching your boys to value everyone's contribution around them. So why just boys? Why are we only talking about boys? Because on the surface of it, it looks like it's only boys, but to be very honest, our boys are operating and are growing up in a world that is filled with gender gaps, which is filled with you can say gender biases, which is filled with rigid gender roles and rigid gender stereotypes, and because of which there are a lot of things that they kind of false things that they start believing about the other gender, and they grow up into that flow. So we have to break that flow by trying to help them understand that they need to value the contribution of everyone around them. So why is this important? Because when we go to classrooms and we ask kids, we give them a simple activity and we ask them, okay, so who cooks in your house? And they are like almost 9 out of 10 people, or let's say 19 out of 20 children who raise their hands and say it's mommy who cooks. So nobody says that dad cooks, or nobody is barely one or two of them say that. So, and when we go to these schools, they are not just these you can say schools in the slums or schools in the below poverty line. We also go visit the elitist of the schools, and there as well we get the same response, where it's the mother's job to cook. So then we ask them who takes care of the house, who manages the house, and then again pop comes the answer, it's the mom, or it's my elder sister who helps my mom. So okay, and then you go again a little deeper and ask them, okay, how do you get money in your house? Who gets the money in the house? So there again, of course, we have a mixed response, because these days women are going out and earning, and especially in the below poverty line, what happens is men don't earn, and women take the responsibility of being daily wage earners and earning for their families and being the breadwinners for their families. So that's where the kids kind of raise their hand for women, and then you kind of start a conversation, you brainstorm with them, and when you talk to them and when you ask them, okay, whose job is it to cook generally, what do you think? So they all say it's a woman's job. Whose job is it to wash the clothes? It's a woman's job. Whose job is it to manage the home? It is a woman's job. So majority of them answer like this, and I'm telling you, it's also in the cream society, as well as it is also in the below poverty line juggies and jhopris where we visit, and the settlement crowd everywhere. So this is a typical thing where even the household chores have a gender, and they have strict gender roles, like and things like who gets the water, because in India there are many parts and there are many states where, and of course around the world these days, we have a water crisis. So there is a water issue. So who kind of makes sure that we have plenty of water, or who does the planning for water? So again, it's the mom. So if you talk to boys, they realize that most of the things that are in and around the home, building that home or managing that home, are women centric, or are forced on women, or they're very strict gender roles that, okay, this is something that women only must do, and men are supposed to go out, go earn, and then get the money back, and they decide where to spend it, they decide how to you can say what you call as utilize it or whatever. So these things need to change, and that's why it's important, because most of the times women who do not earn, or women who are homemakers, their job or their role is considered to be like really mean, humble, or not so important. But I think it's very important to swap gender roles in the house. So one activity I would like to give is, if you want to teach your boys that everybody's contribution is important, you have to make them understand the scope of the work, the depth of the work, the effort that is put into it, and how difficult and how challenging it is to do on a continuous basis, day in and day out, without fail. I mean, if a mother doesn't cook, children do not get to eat. So, and it's important to you can say talk to our partners also, and try to get them into this fold and say, okay, now you can also cook and you must cook. So that's why, if we want to encourage the next generation of boys to understand that, the house management or home management is not just a woman's responsibility, it is a shared responsibility. You need to be teaching them today that every person's role in your family is something that is you being worth thankful for. You have to be able to teach them that everyone in the family is contributing something. So that contribution is not should not be categorized on the base of a gender, that the level of that contribution cannot be categorized or cannot be measured on the basis of the gender. And that's again a very good platform, where if you do this activity of swapping the gender roles at least once a week, like where the father does the cooking, and where kids get to see that their father is cooking, their father is washing the utensils, or they are managing the home. And managing the home, I think young boys, especially mothers who want to spend time with their boys, I think the best thing is teach your boys how to manage a home. It's very important. Often women, they kind of put this responsibility on the girls, and every time if a young girl is not willing to do any household work, she is sarcastically being told that what will you do after marriage? Your mother-in-law will probably kick you out of the house if you don't work. Your education will not come along. You must know to cook. You must know to do the dishes. You must know to keep the house well. So I think this basic value of that it is a girl's job should be actually challenged and changed and swapped. And it has to be that all the children in the house, irrespective of being girls or boys, you should be treating your boys also equally, and be a parent and be a mother, be a father who can teach your young boys to manage homes. So managing home is not just about cooking, cleaning, or cleaning the toilets, cooking, or mowing the lawn. It is about how do you manage this entire set of operations, getting them involved into it. And for that, you have to be a good role model. And to be a good role model, you will have to swap your gender roles as you can say parents, and allow them to experience that yes, this is normal, this is okay. If dad's cooking, that's okay. If mom is watching TV and dad is cooking inside, that's okay. And mom can also cook and dad can also cook. And also the fact is that managing home and doing all your things on your own, to be what you call as being independent, is something that is a must in today's environment. It's not just about the gender roles. It's also about giving the boys a sense of being self-dependent. When they learn to cook, when they learn to take care of themselves, when they learn to take care of their rooms, when they learn to take care of their homes, when they learn to get the grocery from outside, when they learn to manage the house, when they learn to interact with the guests who are coming home, when they learn to make tea for the guests if they're coming home. So I think all these things also raises the self-esteem of the boys. It also puts them into a spot where they are interacting, where their energies are channelized in the most positive manner. So instead of categorizing the household work, or any work for that matter, as a boy's job or a woman's job or a girl's job, I think these are life skills that boys need to learn. In my experience, most men, they do not know all these things. They are like, my mama gives me the glass of water in my hand, and that is how I prefer my wife to do. But if the wife, or when the wife has, she has a life, right? She's not there to be your servant and serve you every time, get your food, get your accessories, get your iron your shirt and everything. I think there's so many things, there's so many responsibilities. It is just about adults taking responsibility for their own self. It's as simple as that. There's no gender involved into this, but the society and but the culture, and but there's so many things and there's so many buts that have actually transformed managing a house into a woman's territory, and managing the external affairs as a man's territory, and you cannot question the man, and you are supposed to do in the limited resources that he gets home. So there's so many things. So I think for equal opportunities, it's important that we teach young boys that everything that is happening, every act that happens in managing a home is worth being thankful for, and is not a menial job, or it's not below dignity. Everything is important, and just the way every role, every person who's playing a role around your boy's life in your family, that is important, and he should be thankful for it, and he should understand the contribution. He should value that contribution. Similarly, when the boy is going to the school, he should realize that yes, there are so many classmates, there are my teachers, there is a system there which is again contributing to my growth, and I need to be valuing it and using it appropriately and using it for my advantage. So this is the way that you have to teach your boys that that everyone's contribution is really, really important. You have to be able to engage your boys into this conversation. And I think if your family has never done this, why not start by probably the coming weekend, where you can actually swap roles. The husband and wife can decide, and because it is about making your children, making your boys more independent so that they don't become like a liability after marriage to the women they marry. And trust me, it is a liability when I have to, because if I'm expected to have a career, because these days most of the young men have this notion that my wife she should be good at career, she should be good at home, she should be good at managing kids, she should be good with my family, she should be good, like a trophy, I need to take her in the society, she should be groomed well. I mean, so many expectations from women, and how do you think are they going to manage completely by themselves? It's not possible. Why? So if girls have expectations from if boys have expectations from women too have these expectations. And I think this action point of teaching them to value everyone's contribution is going to really, really be helpful in setting that expectation for them, so that they turn into healthy men in future. And you don't need your wife should not become your babysitter. I mean, I don't know how am I talking and if that makes sense, but that's what I really, really mean. I mean, your wife cannot be your babysitter, taking care of what you should eat and how you should cook and everything. I think a home, you have to be able to tell your child, a home is about shared responsibilities. Everyone has a role to play, and everyone has to contribute, and everyone's role is significant, and there should be space, flexibility to swap those roles. I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to say. And this is very, very important. So boys don't grow up thinking that, oh, what, my mama did not do anything. She was just a housewife. Because I do hear this. Even in my corporate trainings, when I would visit these corporates for, my sessions, and I would generally talk to them, okay, so what does your wife do? So, the answer is not that she's a homemaker. There's no pride in it. But it's like she's just a homemaker. She's just a housewife. And even women, when they introduce themselves, they talk like, I'm just a housewife, I'm just a mother. So there's not just, you are a homemaker, you are a home manager. And I think that's something that you should be proud of, because you're working day in and day out without being thanked. It's a thankless job at times we do. So when you teach boys to, understand that, every person's contribution in the family is important. Every person's role is not just, the gender cannot define the contribution, and the gender cannot, being a man or being a woman cannot stop you from contributing, or cannot you cannot have the entire responsibility of the entire house just because you belong to a specific gender. This is something that I mean by this action point, that teaching your boys to value each person's contribution. It's a beautiful exercise and a very actionable thing that you can do. It's easily doable. So now you can get together, make a list of chores that you have to do. It's not just about the chores, it's about training your boys on how to run the household in future when he has to start his own family. When are we going to talk to them about this? Because we again put the entire responsibility on the girls. Why just the girls? It's a shared responsibility. And it's making your boys more independent. Imagine if they go out and if they stay at the hostels and they don't have homemade food, what are they going to do? It's important. It's important. This lesson is very, very valuable if we want to raise responsible boys. Making them teach that every person's contribution is important. They will learn to be more responsible themselves. They have to learn to be responsible for themselves. They have to learn to up their skill game in the household area. And for that, dads, I would say fathers need to take a lead, and fathers must come forward, and fathers must try to challenge, maybe like 20 years, 30 years, you didn't probably make a cup of tea, but now is the time. If you have a young boy, if you have your children in your home, you must be teaching them that. And even if you have girls, you don't have boys in your house, I think even then, if as a father, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're managing the home, you're trying to break and disrupt the gender stereotypes and the gender roles, your daughters will have the same expectations from the man they would want to marry, and they will look out for such boys who can share the responsibility rather than throw the burden on them alone. So I hope you like this action point. A simple thing, you just sit down as a family, decide and have a lot of brainstorming on how the house is managed. What are the gender roles that you have, that okay, mama does this only, daddy does this only. So try to disrupt that gender role, try to swap roles, teach all these things to your kids, especially to boys. Cooking, they should know they should learn to clean toilets, they should learn to keep their home clean, they should be able to swap the floors, they should be able to do the dusting, they should be able to understand that there's a specific budget weekly, so that you're also making them financially literate, and how they should order things and what sort of things they should get. So it's like a very practical, doable thing. It's a very practical, doable thing, and I want you to do this, and I want you to send us your experiences. So teach your boys that this contribution is very important. The same thing can be applied in the classrooms also, and there as well you can have a lot of because in classrooms you have a craft period, and I've seen in our school as well, stitching and all, up to an extent boys were taught, but then if there's knitting and a little more stuff involved, so even the crafts had a gender while we grew up, so knitting was considered to be a girl's thing, so girls do that. So let's make it more cool, let's make it more balanced, and let's introduce crafts to our young boys as well, and let's make them learn to stitch their own shirts. If the buttons fall off, they should be able to sew it on their own, so there's no problem with that. Another simple activity that you can do is it's important to show and expose your kids to a lot of gender disrupted or gender challenged what you call as pictures. Like you can show them pictures of men knitting, you can show them pictures of men cooking, you can show them pictures of women flying jets, you can show them pictures of women being the firefighters, you can show them pictures of men doing where men and women have swapped roles. You can show them those pictures and have a healthy discussion with them, so that they learn that yes, everyone contributes to a task based on the skills, based on the worth that they have, inner worth, and based on how beautifully and sincerely they want to do it. It's nothing to do with the gender. So I definitely, I hope I have made a very strong point here, and I hope you do this exercise of sitting with your family the way I asked you. And yes, teach your boys that everyone's contribution around them is important, based on the fact that they are individuals, based on the fact that it is skill-based contribution, based on the fact that there's a lot of effort that goes into it. So irrespective of the gender, no job is menial, no job is low or high, and that's about it. So I hope to meet you for my next action point. Thank you.